Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. Lots to talk about this evening. I want to talk about a couple of players that are in and around the first team. One that's coming back to fitness, and one player in particular that I think, and I'm going to say it just now, is young Jude Bonner. Is young Jude Bonner the guy to take over from Callum McGregor? It's a big statement. But Callum McGregor was brought into the team to ultimately become a Celtic captain one day. Is Jude Bonner the person that will ultimately replace Callum McGregor in a couple of years' time? Tell me what you think in the comments section. Why is it? I'm going to have to close down some pages. Just close this down. Jude Bonner, who is contracted until 2026. Interesting. He is contracted until 2026. Well, young Francis Turley, a lot of people would like to see young Francis Turley become the midfield maestro. He is contracted to Celtic until 2028. He plays in the central midfield role that Callum McGregor plays in also. But young Jude Bonner, who is a little bit older, well, he's 19. Jesus, a little bit older than Francis Turley. Not really, is he? But he is only contracted until the 31st of May 2026. Let's just hope it's not another case of we get him into the first team this season and then he disappears. He disappears next season and Brendan Rodgers loses another player. Brendan Rodgers, the manager, who ultimately says... why is Murray not on the poll? Because you can only have 5 people on the poll. And Dane Murray wasn't a player that I was thinking of. So, yeah. Baz, do a hackathon. Nope, because they're all talking about their takeover. And so I'm not doing a hackathon when they're talking about their takeover. So if you want to go and listen to them talking about getting taken over, fine. They're not really having a meltdown, are they? Not really. Anyway, there's loads to talk about Celtic. Celtic today, 7 o'clock this morning, announced the fact that they were playing Cork City in the Super Cup in Cork. It'll be only the third time ever that a soccer match has been staged at the historic ground. Yep, they call it the ground of the rebels, don't they? The ground of the rebels. It is an iconic ground. It'll be on Tuesday, the 8th of July, and tickets go on sale for it this Friday. For you who are wanting to head over to Ireland and take in this game. I know lots of guys that will head over for that, and there'll be plenty of buses that will head over. Also, right, an interesting bit of news that I thought we would talk about, because he's done an awful lot of talking about Celtic since he left, and it's Kyogo. Yep, he's been talking a lot about Celtic since he left. Not the fact that he's missing us. Nope, not the fact that he's missing us. The fact that he felt depressed. He felt depressed and frustrated at his time in Glasgow. Depressed and frustrated that he didn't get picked for the national team. Yet he joins a club who's on the verge of getting relegated, and he's still not going to get picked for the national team, is he? I just think he needs to shut up, Kyogo. I think all the good that Kyogo had at his time at Celtic. Speaking to a media outlet, he admitted that missing out on the tournament in Qatar was a hammer blow to him. Kyogo found out about it whilst travelling with the Hoops squad for the Champions League group stage against Real Madrid. Asked about the tournament, he says he was really frustrated, to be honest. I think the announcement of the squad on the day we were travelling in the Champions League away game, I couldn't let it get to me, to be honest. I felt depressed and frustrated, but I had the Champions League game to play. That's all I'm going to say about Kyogo, because do you know what? He's having a crap time. He's having a crap time over there. And, you know, if that's what his ambition was, he couldn't wait to get out of Celtic. He couldn't wait to get out of Celtic, and it was the case of the first team that would put in a bid for him that he was going to go to. Never mind the status of the club, never mind the position that they were in. And I just think that Kyogo is going to be. He's now in the same boat for me, Kyogo. There's other strikers that have left. He's out the window. But as all these leavers give us also Hollywood celebrity status, they missed that too. Yeah. Fuck Kyogo. Yeah, exactly. Fuck Kyogo. Adam Ida is relishing the fact that he's going to return to his boyhood club in the summer. Yep. Adam Ida is relishing the fact that he's going to return and play Cork in the friendly in July. Adam Ida says that he recalled his early hurling career. He played hurling as a young lad. Some will say he still plays hurling as a football player. And that's all I'm going to talk about that. I'm not even going to talk about Kyogo anymore. Francis Turley, Jude Bonner are two players that I think that are the future of Celtic. Jude Bonner, is he the player ultimately that could take over from Callum McGregor if he signs a new contract? But the question was that I got thinking about before the live tonight is, who would you like to see get more game time before the end of the season? James Forrest. James Forrest needs to get back into the team. And then there was Yang, who is coming onto a game. I think that Yang will be the permanent replacement for one of our wingers that is sold this summer. Jude Bonner, who has got his first games under his belt as a Celtic player, and he's definitely a player that has the potential to break into the first team and stay in the first team on a long-term basis. And then there's young Francis Turley, the Irish player who also made his debut earlier on this season. He's a player also that I think that, although he is contracted to Celtic until 2028, he does have that little bit of time on his hands to maybe go out on loan next year, get some game time, and then come back. But that usually happens once they go into the first team. I just hope that young Bonner isn't put out on loan. I hope that Bonner is kept in and around the first team. I think Lennon Miller would be a natural replacement for Callum McGregor. He's miles ahead of these boys. It depends on what they want for him, isn't it? It was unfortunate that he got injured at the last transfer window. And will Celtic put in an offer for him? Celtic have been reluctant to buy Scottish players that have the potential to go on to be really good, as we've noticed over the years, and we end up buying people like Greg Taylor, who's been a fantastic servant for the club, but let's face it, he's not lit the header, has he? With his playing style. Is Lennon Miller, would he walk straight into the Celtic team, and could he hold down a place? And can he progress as a player to not only play in that midfield for Celtic in a domestic level, but can he up his game? He's not had any international caps yet. Has he played for Scotland? I'm not sure. But anyway, the Champions League would worry me with Lennon Miller. I think that he needs to come into Celtic, but I don't think he's Champions League ready yet. So tell me how to get that. Kaiser's in the house, Brown Warriors in the house. No for sale, Hitati Baz. If we sell Hitati, do you keep Jude Bonner in the team? Here's a poll. I'm going to finish that poll off. Nah, because there's no point. Because we don't own Lennon Miller, so there's no use talking about Lennon Miller because we haven't put a bid in for him. We've kept tabs on him. But if you're Jude Bonner, who's only got a year left on his contract, right, and we're all trying to get young players to come through the system. If Celtic go out and spend 4-5 million on Lennon Miller, and he walks straight into the first team. Fair enough, he's getting first team action at Motherwell, and he's had quite a good season with Motherwell, apart from the fact he got injured. But then if you're Jude Craig Bonner, he's quite tall as well as Jude Bonner. Do you then stick around? Do you sign a new deal at Celtic? And are Celtic playing Russian roulette with their younger players? The fact that Jude Bonner is another player that come the end of this season, he's only got a year left on his contract. And we all know what happens when a player's only got a year left on his contract. His agent is Deadline Day Soccer. It's just not good at all, is it? Who don't have they've got Stephen Welsh. Stephen Welsh is their most expensive player. That says it all. And they've just got Stephen Welsh out of Celtics to go and play. They do have a lot of Scottish players on their books. Quite a few Scottish players on their books, but they don't have a fantastic portfolio of expensive players. Stephen Welsh is their most expensive player. We'll leave that there, won't we? We'll leave that there. But young Craig Bonner, I think that as an attacking midfielder and a central midfielder, the holding midfield role, is he a player that can flourish at Celtic? And would Craig Bonner, here's one for you, right? Would Craig Bonner save us 4 or 5 million, 3 or 4 million? Motherwell would rip our hands off for 2 million for Miller. Now they said they weren't going to sell him, Irishman 1916. They said they weren't going to sell him for really cheap money. They were wanting 4, 5, 6 million for him at the last window if he hadn't got injured. But is Celtic thinking, right, we've got Jude Bonner, let's just bring him into the first team rather than spending 2 or 3 million on Lennon Miller? It's an interesting one. But anyway, who would you like to see get more game time? That is the question. There's 105 votes in already. And my thoughts behind it was Forrest, who definitely needs to get some game time before the end of the season to try and score his goal. Yang is a player that is definitely one for the future. He's a completely different player than he was this time last year. And I think that it is always interesting to see a player come into a bit of form at this time of year, especially when it's coming to the close of the season and the impending summer of doom transfer window. The summer of doom transfer window. That's what they'll call it, because if Sevco get taken over and they invest about 20 or 30 million in players, and then Celtic end up selling 20, 30 million pounds worth of players, they will say it was the summer of doom, depending on the type of player that we can then bring in. And then if we do just replace Jude Bonner, for instance, if he's the replacement for Rio Hatate, people have said that Celtic aren't spending is speculate. So it's a difficult situation that Celtic are in, whilst they try to bring through younger players and we want them to bring them through. Lennon Miller is already high level with the SPFL. Celtic could afford Miller for 5 million. No danger perhaps send Bonner the opposite direction on loan to sweeten the deal. Don't worry, that's fine, but with only a year left on his contract, we're going to have to get young Jude Bonner signed up on a new contract, or he's going to walk again. He's going to be another player that will walk. And Celtic cannot think that they could sweet talk a player. They have to act fast. And I mean, we're now letting Daniel Cummins, it's looking like he's going to walk for free at the end of the season. I can't see him signing a new contract, but anyway, it is what it is, isn't it? I just hope that Francis Turley gets some more game time, because he was a lad that came in who initially in 2022 joined the under-18s, and then he went into the B team, and he's been brought into the first team at Celtic. I hope that he gets in training with some of the first team at Celtic. So, Greg Taylor has announced... Greg Taylor, where's Paul Baird? Is he even here tonight? Greg Taylor has announced his daughter has been born. His first daughter with his wife Laura. I tell you, Taylor's punching above his pay grade with her, isn't he? But then again, folk will say she's only with him because he's a football player. But they are childhood sweethearts, aren't they? They're childhood sweethearts, so fair play to Taylor. Taylor, who missed the 5-0 win over Aberdeen midweek, and then went on to he came back into the team. But anyway, Greg Taylor, just leave that there. He's an air player that could be off in the summer, so why are we even talking about him? Not a lot of Celtic news kicking around today, as you would expect, because it's Monday, and the fact that it is all about what about Murray? I like the lad. Yeah, he's a defender though, and I think he'll get his time on the bench. I mean, was he on the bench the last game? Can't even remember. His baby, it's a spit of him, says Michelle. Don't know, never seen it. Even Baz and Phil Tim says, and Stephen Johnson says, Michelle Shaw, that jet black hair, absolutely beautiful baby. What's inside that counts, Baz? Yeah, it is. It's what's inside. Something inside so strong. And I noticed that Francis Turley's only had 2% of the votes, whereas Jude Bonner has 26%, Young's had 46%, and James Forrest has had 26%. And any up-and-coming Maida type players available from Japan. Do we still have the Japanese connections? I think that the Japanese connections walked out the door the day that Ange Postecoglou walked out the door. Because it was Ange Postecoglou that knew these players. He seen Daisen Maeda in action when he managed in Japan. He seen Kyogo in action when he managed in Japan. He saw Ryo Hatate in action when he managed in Japan. He knew of the other players that came in, so I think it's going to be an interesting transfer window when we look at the type of player and where they come in from, because I think that I can't see any more new players, because even it was the previous manager that brought in Yang. So as much as it is a fantastic part of the world for us to be picking up cheap players for, I just think that we've missed a chance. We missed a golden opportunity to try and expand into that market. And let's be fair, Celtic wanted to expand into that market. They set up a friendly with Ange Postecoglou's previous team, and it was going to be the homecoming of Ange Postecoglou going back, but he'd walked out on the club. He had had enough. Do you think he would have said to them, look, don't set up this to go and play in Japan, because I'm not going to be here in the summer? You'd think he would have been honest with them. Ange obviously had the contact. Surely Celtic could still look at Japan. They could, but when you've had, the difference is Ange Postecoglou saw these players in action before they came to Celtic. He knew what they could bring to Celtic. When it's now the case that it's prospects. And is Brendan Rodgers going to go down that road of bringing in potential prospects? I don't think so. There's more chance of Brendan Rodgers going into the transfer market in the European market, where Celtic have been keeping an eye on players like Arne Engels and picking up players for the region of between 8 and 15 million. I think that's the reality of where Celtic are heading now. And it's unfortunate that we've missed that boat. You know, we had a fantastic connection to, but then again, listen, I mean, Ange Postecoglou brought in some shite as well. Do you know what I mean? Ange Postecoglou brought in some shite. We've got Kwon, who's out on loan. You know, we've got Kwon out on loan. We've sold Alexandro Bernabe. We made a slight profit on Alexandro Bernabe, but not every player that Ange brought in was a good player. Get Brendan to sign an extension. Yeah, that is the biggest thing that we need to talk about for this summer, is obviously Brendan Rodgers going into the last year of his contract. And I said it a year and a half, or nearly 2 years ago now. I said that Brendan Rodgers would be here, to all the doubters right at the beginning. They were saying, "Oh, he'll be away after a season. He'll be away after two seasons." I said at the time that Brendan Rodgers would stay until the end of his contract. Now, will he extend that? I think it will. It's an easy conversation. And to the naysayers out there in the media that say that Brendan Rodgers, as soon as he gets a shout for a bigger club, he'll want that one last chance. Nah. I think that Brendan Rodgers knows that he's got the possibility to try and achieve something great at Celtic, not only on a domestic front, but I think if we keep on going the way that we're going in the Champions League, ultimately Brendan Rodgers wants to get Celtic into the last 16, maybe even the last 8 of the Champions League. That's ultimately what Celtic can do. And I think Brendan Rodgers would if he finished his career in 4 years' time, say, he decided he's had enough, he's going to retire early, and he's got Celtic into the last 8 of the Champions League. You know, missing out on penalties or something to get into the semis and stuff, and the quarterfinals and the semis. I just think that if he can get Celtic up there, he'll go down as a complete legend, and I think that that's what he wants to do. When you listen to him, and people will say, "Look, if the money comes in, I mean, who would he go to? He's been at Liverpool in England, right? He then went to Leicester." Don't know. He's seen how the grass isn't greener on the other side. He's happy where he is. He's got the back end of Dermot. Peter Lawwell's out of the way. Peter's son's out the way. That was the biggest thing that happened in the last year, and I'll still say that. Getting rid of Peter's son, give Brendan full control of the reins at Celtic. And it's just up to the board to act faster. Just up to the board. I bet you Nakamura knows a good left-sided player when he sees one. Yep, he probably does. In the Japan market. Kobayashi. Brendan Rodgers will sign a 5-year deal, says Kaiser. Interesting one, Kaiser. I don't think he'll sign a 5-year deal. I think he might sign another 3-year deal, possibly. I can't see it being a 5-year deal. I think if Brendan does sign a new contract, it maybe be a 2-year extension, which means he'll be here for another 3 years. Will he take us to 7 in a row? Will he take us to 9 in a row, ultimately? And will he stay that long? I think there's a time scale that any manager would stay. And I don't think that it would be... I think he would sign a 2-year extension. That's my bets. Anyway, let's see how the poll's doing. We've got 149 votes. Who would you like to see to get more game time before the end of the season? James Forrest is down in third now. Yang's coming in first on 42%. James Forrest is now second on 29%. Jude Bonner is on 28%. And young Francis Turley, who is on 1%. Young Francis Turley, who hopefully can be our next Neil Lennon. Hopefully he's our next Neil Lennon, and I hope Jude Craig Bonner is our next Callum McGregor in that midfield. Palace House Found says, funny you should say that, Baz. I was thinking it. Great minds. Yep. Appoint Naka as head of Asian scouting. 10 in a row. Brendan will take us all the way. Nah, I can't see it. I can't see it. Anyone, Kyogo was unsure, was an unused sub yesterday. The manager that signed him got sacked. Yes, he did. He got sacked. And Kyogo's bitching about his time at Celtic to the media. So, hell mend Kyogo, and, you know, you need to watch what you look for in life. Forrest, so he gets a chance to score against the Huns, says Mikey Boy. That would be a fantastic one, and it would be a great one. Great one to finish off the season. Playing him at home or the away game. The away game at Ibrox. He likes to score at Ibrox, doesn't he? 156 votes. Oh, let me see this article. It's silly season. A fantastic Celtic player is seen as a transfer target of one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Oh, here we go. Here we go. You know how Italian football is on the up and they've been taking a lot of players from Scotland. There is new speculation that there's not a chance. Not a chance. Oh, this is, honestly, this is nuts. Inter Milan are interested in signing right back Alistair Johnston this summer. The 26-year-old has been a surprise name in the Serie A Champions transfer list targets in that position. There is a belief they could snap him up for around £8 million. Not a hope in hell. He's just signed a brand new contract with Celtic. He's just signed a new extended contract. There is no way will Celtic sell Alistair Johnston for £8 million. No way. Losing Johnston would be just absolutely bonkers. There's no way at all. Rodgers is a big admirer of him, and this is how articles really need to do. His contract doesn't. He's got a contract until 2029, so there's not a chance would 8 million even entertain. Celtic wouldn't even entertain 8 million for Alistair Johnston. Not a chance. Tell me in the comments, how much do you think Alistair Johnston is worth? Definitely on the cards. Alistair Johnston's world class. We tried 38 million, said Kaiser. We need to settle back 4 on physical midfield to get into the last 16 of the Champions League, says Michael. Jamesy Boy says Leeds think they can get Kuhn for 3 million. More chance of them pulling Heidi Kuhn. Oh, Jesus. 8 million wouldn't be able to afford Alistair Johnston's right foot. You'd be lucky to get Alistair Johnston for 18 million. Alistair Johnston's a 30-40 million player. With how long his contract. Anglo Inertia says 20 million. Alistair Johnston is irreplaceable under 30 million. We're not selling, especially since, and this is no disrespect to Tony Rowson, but I mean, Tony Rowson couldn't lace his boots, can he? Danny Cassie says he thinks Jota and Forrest will shine. How many players and managers played for Celtic and Coventry? Have a guess? Don't know. Les Watt says 15 million for Alistair Johnston. 15 million? Do you think that's all? Going on the length of his contract? Maybe that's why Celtic put him on that extended contract to make sure that they maximise, because they know that Alistair Johnston's going to get some attention. Irishman 1916 says 30 million for Alistair Johnston, the Canadian destroyer. Do Inter Milan know he has 2 legs and a head? 8 million. At least 30 million, says Dave Hislop. Alistair Johnston, 25 million plus. Dylan says 100 million. 8 million is just for his boots, says Spacey. 22 million, I reckon, would buy Alistair Johnston in today's market. And Joseph says 25 million. Ralston's worth 8 million in your opinion, Kaiser. What? What? You feeling alright, Kaiser? Alistair Johnston's world class. I'm a Yank and can't think in euros. 8 million wouldn't afford Alistair Johnston's dog. Celtic Mad said 25 million. At least Danny Cassie said 40 million. Hatate will go sign Sloop and play as well for cover for Kieran. Defo Baz. Oh Jesus, Ralston for 8 million. Not a chance. You're not getting 8 million. I mean, what is he worth on transfer market? £8 million. Oh, you beezer. Kaiser's done his nothing. His current... Kaiser. His valuation on transfer market is 2 million. 2 million euros. 1.6 million pound. So there you go. Oh, Jesus. 8 million. Oh, Jesus, Kaiser, the governed dafty. Who's the most valuable player if we were to sell them? Says Diane. It would have to be Dyson Maeda at the current moment, on current form. It's between Dyson Maeda and Alistair Johnson. Alistair Johnson, for the lengthy contract that he has, Alistair Johnson's got a fantastic. He's got 4 years on his contract. It's where Dyson Maeda's only got 2. So it could be Alistair Johnson. You ain't getting 40 for AJ. Let's be real. I don't think we're getting 40 million. Lorna says 8 million pence. Around 20 million for Alistair Johnson, not valued what we expect because of this league. I still think that you're going to get 20. What's Maeda's valuation on there? Let's find out. It's only about 8 million or something. Let me just find out there. Transfer market. He's worth 8 million on transfer market. There you go. 8 million. 8 million. Do you know the crazy thing? That he was put out on loan loads of times. He was put out on loan from 2020, right? All the way to... And Celtic actually took him on loan to start with. Celtic took Dyson on loan to start with. He'd been on loan for about 4 years. First came into the game in 2016. High school football. There you go. Dyson Maeda. Loan. Every club was a loan. Weird one. Anyway. Maeda's worth 55 million. Oh, we need to get so... Jesus. What happened to O'Reilly? We got 30 for him. Yeah, exactly. Matt O'Reilly, we got 30 million for him. When you look at Alistair Johnston, what he brings to you, and Alistair... Right, here's a thought. If we get 30 million for Matt O'Reilly, who is not an international player, how much then is Alistair Johnston really worth with 4 years left on his contract? An international player who was named in FIFA team of the competition last year. You've got to say he's worth 30 million anyway. He's worth at least 30 million to Celtic in the current market. Maeda's got to be worth 30 million, said Studs. Maeda, easy 155. We bought Kyogo and loan Dyson. Yep. $3 million on a patio laid for Tony Ralston. Oh, Jesus. Bring Matt O'Reilly back. Not a chance. Nope. That ship sailed. Look at the Canadian ring back. We're 60 odd million. Yep. Guys are 2-pot noodles. Stuart Ramsey's in the house. Uncle Stuart's in the house this evening. It's not been a busy night tonight, is it? Let me just see. That's not been busy. So it was on loan on here. Dyson, yeah, it was that, says the Irishman. And Porto. Kaiser with Bain's medals. He must be worth 30 million. How long has Bain got? Here's the thing. How long has Scott Bain got left on his contract? Jesus, tell me it's ending soon. Oh my God. Scott Bain, 6 league championships, 5 Scottish Cups, 4 League Cups, and one fourth league championship. Just to name a few. When's his contract out? That's all I want to know. When do we get rid of Bain? Oh my goodness! Whoa! Scott Bain is out of contract next summer. We've only got one more year of Scott Bain. Scott Bain, whose current valuation is 200 grand. 200 grand is his valuation. When did he sign for City? He's milked it, isn't he? Last contract extension was in 2023. Jesus. Signed for Celtic in 2018. Could you imagine Scott Bain gets a new contract? Oh God. Oh no, didn't he? Could you imagine Scott Bain gets a new contract and then next year his contract finishes in 2026. Could you imagine he gets a 2-year extension and then and I'm going to say he gets a testimonial. Scott Bain gets a testimonial. Jesus, that'd be nuts, wouldn't it? Scott Bain going on the training pitch, 36 million. That pre-season game against Sligo, he was utter shite. How many? He's got a medal haul and a half though. I mean, when you see it, he's got 6 Scottish League Championship medals, right? He's got 5 Scottish Cup medals. He's got 4 League Cup medals. For a player that has just not played much football at all. He's since 2018. He's meant to be sitting smoking the biggest Cuban cigars in the world. He's just like that. Fucking happy days, man. Happy days. I wonder what he's on. I wonder what wage he's on. I mean, he's meant to be on 8 grand a week. Let's try and find out. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is going to drive you nuts. Oh my God. I can't even say it. Scott Bain. He's Scott Bain. His contracts, right? Back in 2017, when he first came through, he was on a weekly wage of £670 a week. At Dundee. In 2018, that went up to 820. At Celtic in 2019, he was on 820 quid a week. Alright? At Dundee in 2018. He came to Celtic and his wage jumped to 4,600. In 2020, his wage jumped to 7,600 a week. He has been on 7,600 a week since 2020. £395,200 a year for sitting on the bench. Scott Bain is worth 2.687 million. Scott Bain is a millionaire for sitting on the bench at Celtic. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm unbelievable. Unbelievable. He's worth 2.687 £2,687,880. That's his net worth. How much is Schmeichel getting paid? Schmeichel's only getting paid by Celtic 13 grand a week. Schmeichel's taking a massive wage cut, isn't he? Well, not really. He was on 65 grand a week at Nice. He was on 130 at Leicester. He was on 130 at Leicester for years. Oof. Kasper Schmeichel is worth 39 million that he's earned over his playing career. 39 million for playing football, Kasper Schmeichel. No wonder he's down to 13 grand a week. 13 grand a week. That's fucking bonkers money. That's £676,000 a year Kasper Schmeichel's on. That's buttons. That's absolutely buttons. Honest to God, that is absolute buttons. Absolute buttons. James McCarthy. Oh my God. Do you know him? James McCarthy was on 14 grand a week at Celtic. He was on 50 grand a week at Crystal Palace. He was on 50 grand a week at Everton. When he came to Celtic, he was on 14 grand a week. Jesus. Cameron Carter-Vickers. This is saying that Cameron Carter-Vickers is on £37,000 a week, earning on 1.9 million a year playing at Celtic. 37,000 a week for Cameron Carter-Vickers. Interesting. It's James Forrest. James Forrest is on 19 grand a week. 19 grand a week at Celtic. Fair play to him. Worked his way up through the ranks. Wasn't always on 19 grand a week. He got a new contract in 2023, which put him on 19 grand a week. He was on 20 grand a week in 2022. Strange one. And then he got deducted a grand a week wages ever since. Strange, totally bizarre. Anyway, that is absolute bonkers. Scott Bain. Scott Bain should be on job seekers allowance. Bain wins the lottery every year. Exactly, doesn't he? Scott Bain does nothing. A bit like the Celtic state of mind sniper. Scott Bain worth every penny of that wage. Look at his medal haul. Up, yeah. Jesus, 820 grand a week was far too much. 8,000 a week sounds good to me for doing absolutely nada. Yep, it's crazy money. Now I don't know. This is on salarysport.com. Salarysport.com. So you can go out and check out your favourite players. I'm trying to find out. I just want to see what Greg Taylor's on. 15 grand a week, Greg Taylor. This says Greg Taylor's on at Celtic. He's on 15 grand a week at Celtic, and he's wanting 25 grand a week. I missed Carl Mark. Adam Ida's on 16 grand a week. He was on, that's weird, because he was on 23 grand a week at Norwich, and he's came to Celtic for 16 grand a week. Surely that's not right. Interesting if it is. And then Callum McGregor. Interesting that Callum McGregor's only on 37 grand a week as well. He's on 37 grand a week. He'd got a pay increase in 2024 to 37 grand a week. He was on, when he came through this, he was on 2017 he was on 8,400, 2018 he was on 12 grand, 2019 he was on 14,000 pounds a week, 2020 he went on to 20 grand, and then 2022 he got a jump up in wages to 30 grand a week, and then 2024 he got a jump up to 37,000 pounds a week. That was Brendan Rodgers putting all he's done that the last time he was in, putting his captain on a good salary. Callum McGregor earns 1.9 million a year being the captain of Celtic. Callum McGregor's net worth is 10.9 million. So if he's banked quite, even if he's been taxed 50% of that, he's still sitting with at least 5 million in the bank, you would think. take away what he spends on a yearly basis, still sitting with a good few million in the bank for playing football for Celtic, which is fair play. Taylor below 25 anyway. Taylor's on 15. Wages from 1992. Hey, Baz, wee Barry's struggling. Hibs beating us was a wake-up call. I think yep. Kaiser says, the players get to win bonuses every week. Yeah, they do that. Anyway, that's me done and dusted. Wonder what Calmark's scoring bonus is. I have no idea, but I bet you it is a good amount. Right, let's finish up the poll that's been running for 54 minutes. Who would you like to see get more game time this season, before the end of the season? We'll finish that there. Sitting in the top is Yang on 43%, James Forrest on 27%, Jude Bonner is on 26%, and Francis Turley is only on 1%. Anyway, there we go. Might have been Lawwell pretending to be James McCarthy. Yep. Might have been. Anyway, we are shockingly cheap with wages these days. Martin O'Neill's players played the same 20 years later. Yep, exactly. I should have been a footballer's wife, says Lorna Gallagher. Shouldn't we all have been? Anyway, on that note, that's me done and dusted for this evening. I'll be back with the Celtic news for you tomorrow morning. Have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans.